Welcome, movement specialists, to another edition of Triplane Function, where we take a muscle that's relevant to you and show you how you can see it, feel it, move it, and teach it. The goal of all our videos is to give you a visual aid and show you what's happening to the muscle, how it's being lengthened and shortened, and more importantly, how you can feel it at home. Today, we're going to talk about the posterior cuff of the scapula, or some of us refer to as the shoulder blade. The posterior cuff consists of the Teres minor and the Infraspinatus muscles. I'm going to ask Andrew here to turn around for a second. For those of you who maybe are new to anatomy, aren't that familiar with what I'm talking about, the scapula is right here. Some people refer to it as the shoulder blade. You'll be able to feel this big medial border here. The two muscles I'm referring to, the infraspinatus and the teres minor, they originate in the infraspinatus fossa, and they come around and they insert on the greater tubercle of the humerus bone here. So now that we know our origins and insertions of the muscles, I'm going to ask you at home to do what Andrew's doing here. Get that theraband out because we want you to feel it. Tie a knot in that theraband. Don't be lazy. If you need to pause the video, turn it to put it on, please do so. If you're just coming back from pausing it, we got the theraband on top of the shoulder. That is simulating the insertion. Now I'm going to ask Andrew to, yes, thank you, reach around, grab, bring that theraband all the way around the other arm that we're not even talking about. And I'm aware that the muscles don't come all the way back here, but remember, we're doing this for feel, so you can feel it at home. But also, if you're doing it with somebody, you can just see it too. You can see how this is going to shorten and how it's going to lengthen, how it's going to get tight, how it's going to get loose. So, posterior cuff, those two muscles, what is it known for? It's known for external rotation of the shoulder. So I'm going to ask Andrew to show you external rotation right now of the shoulder. So what happens is when he's in external rotation, probably hard to see in the camera, but if you're with somebody who's doing this or you're feeling it, you're going to notice that you're going to be able to pull this theraband. It's going to be a lot looser when you're in external rotation. So who does this matter for? Anybody who's strained their posterior cuff, anybody who's having posterior cuff pain, but it's really important with all of our overhead athletes. Any overhead athlete, on the follow-through, they need to lengthen this posterior cuff. Something that you may see is a very common stretch that's given out is this. It's called the sleeper stretch or the posterior capsule stretch. We'll have people side lie and put their elbow out like this and then just kind of push down. Is that the most effective stretch? Especially for those overhead athletes I was just referring to. We kind of, the way we like to think about it is we got to move the muscle on all three planes of motion, and we want you to practice how you play. What I'm going to have Andrew do is we're going to show you how the muscle can be lengthened in all three planes of motion. So let's actually start with the transverse plane. So I'm going to actually have Andrew stay standing like this. How can we lengthen the transverse plane? We're going to have Andrew horizontally adduct the muscle. Horizontal, sorry. Lengthen. And if you need to kind of pause and camp out right here and just kind of really feel and see how this is lengthened, maybe you can't see on camera, but I can't pull it as much as I once did when he externally rotated initially when I asked him what the posterior cuff did. That's how we can lengthen it in the transverse plane. How can we lengthen it in the sagittal plane? What if Andrew does shoulder flexion? That's lengthening it. Again, if you're not quite feeling it, camp out there. You should really feel it back through here, almost underneath your axilla, better known as your armpit for some of us. What about the frontal plane? Let's have Andrew, sorry, I'm going to have you abduct that arm. And again, you can camp out if you need to. You should really feel that band lengthening. If you're super tight, you might even feel your actual posterior cuff underneath the theraband lengthening. So, now we know how the posterior cuff can be lengthened in all three planes of motion, but how can we effectively increase that stretch, further mobilize it? So today, I'm going to ask Andrew to place his hand on the stretch cage. We're aware that you may not have this stretch cage at home, but what I want you to do is, if you have a nice sturdy cupboard, a doorway, something out in your garage, something you can grab that's sturdy, that's going to support you in some weight, we want you to grab this and mimic it, how I'm going to place Andrew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Andrew, I'm going to pre-position him over here. He's going to reach across the cage. So again, reach into your cupboard, your doorway, whatever it may be you're reaching to. And if you look closely and you notice, Andrew's palm is down. So he is actually internally rotating his humerus, which is then even furthermore lengthening this posterior cuff. Some of you may be very tight at home. You might just be reaching across and say, hey, Steve, this is way too tight. So what I'm going to ask Andrew to do is turn that palm up. That's going to externally rotate the humerus, and that's going to decrease some of that length, and maybe that's where you need to start your stretch. But Andrew's not that tight. He's a trooper. He's going to go palm down. Like I said, this might be enough for you right here, but you know your body better than we do. We want you to be the experts. You can feel it. We can't feel it for you. So now that we know those 3 planes of motions, how it can be, the tissue can be lengthened, what can we do? Transverse plane. I can simply ask Andrew to just take his other arm and reach towards me. How does that feel?
Good.
Good?
Double the stretch of the other one.
Double the stretch of just hanging out there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, and if you're not feeling that at home, that's all right. Let's go into the sagittal plane. What could I ask Andrew to do? Well, kick that butt back towards the camera. There you go. How's that, Andrew?
Good.
Good? Still double, not quite as good as transverse?
That's double.
Double, all right. So good. I'm liking what I'm getting there in the sagittal plane. What if what if you're not getting that stretch in either the transverse or the sagittal? What if we want to try that frontal plane? What could I have him do? Can I have Andrew kick that hip towards me? How's that, Andrew?
Great.
Would you say double again?
About.
About? He's lying. All right. What if you're just that yogi, you're like, hey, nice try, Steve, these stretches aren't doing much for me. Do you think we could combine a couple of these planes of motion to give Andrew or yourself a more effective stretch? You said you got sagittal was double for you?
Yep.
Double? So let's take him back, let's kick that butt back. But now what if let's add that frontal plane. Kick that hip up to the side. How's that, Andrew?
Yeah. 3-4 times the stretch now.
All right. Now, if you're still not feeling a stretch and we combine these two, another thing we could try is I could even have Andrew, I really want to be me, I could really wind him up and make him reach that arm out here. How's that, Andrew?
I don't know if I got any more.
Let's give him a little bit more. Let's have him bring that right foot back just a little bit. All right, I'll have you stop. Okay, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Maybe you need to combine some of those planes of motion to get an effective stretch. If you're an overhead athlete, again, I encourage you, this is a great way to lengthen that posterior cuff. Thanks for tuning in to Triplane Function and be on the lookout for more videos.
It's loose.